You're live, right?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions. It's Thursday, March 12th. Yeah, March 12th. We're going to continue our line by line reading of House Bill 550. We want to complete this today. So this is page 6, and we left off beginning of section 4, which is line 8. And this deals with searches. So let's read that. And we do have some new language as well that Hillary went through in B.
Yes.
So this deals with lawful searches done by DOC. This is not WellPath. This is DOC, and it's searches with safety and security of the facility and inmates.
Sections do you want us to read?
Don't you read A, B, yeah, read the whole thing, A, B, and C.
Is Hillary coming?
She's supposed to, I thought, right?
I just sent her a note.
You have a question?
Well, we just talked about it, but in C, so page 7, line 2,
Yes,
we had a different word for
Right.
designation, search designation.
accommodating requests.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what it was, accommodating?
Correct.
Yes.
Accommodating a search request or accommodating?
All I wrote was, I may not have gotten that right, but I thought that supportive individuals' health and safety and whether a search,
Whether accommodating a request or pose.
accommodating a
Accommodating a
request
Is it
would
a
pose.
search designation?
Because Chris, she was gonna work that out, so she'll be in.
But that's in there. She had caught it.
She's here.
Oh, and look,
She's here.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So on B, that was what we clarified this morning with
Yep.
Dr. Eulicher.
Yep.
That's what we clarified, that, WellPath usually doesn't do searches. And then Hillary, while you get settled there, we did have a question. On the top of page 7, we talked this afternoon on line 2 about whether a search designation, and then we were gonna change language there.
Yes, accommodating the inmates' requests.
there you go.
Accommodating the inmates' requests.
That's something.
You borrow it between the two. Oh, Haley is on Zoom, so that's good.
Okay.
Hi there.
All right, Haley, we just are going through page 6, the searches,
Okay.
going through line by line for that. I'm gonna ask this at this point. I probably should have asked it a long time ago, but I'm gonna ask this at this point at Haley. Are there up to this point, through searches, are there issues that DOC is having with the bill up through this point?
Oh, prior to the searches section?
Yes.
No, not any concerns. I think we cleared up the piece around volunteers, so nothing is concerning right now.
Okay, so we're in the process, we're just finishing up reading searches, the
Mhm.
searches section.
I'm okay with, other than that change we made in that last sentence.
Everyone okay?
Can I just
I'm
get
doing-
a clarification, officer? About, subdivision A, Are the four listed items clothes searches, unclothed searches, urinalysis, and body scans? Are those all four in policy right now and cover all the policy in DOC right now?
So our subcommittee discussion was that those are the four kinds of searches that this would apply to. So that's why we listed them, say as covering all kinds of searches. I would want DOC to confirm, but DOC has a policy that pertains to each of these kinds of searches.
That's accurate.
So. Let me write that down before. So by listing it, we conduct lawful searches in accordance with this section, including the clothes searches, unclothed, urinalysis, and body scans. Are we limiting what would be lawful searches under this section by listing that? Or is it other searches that could happen, including these?
So our understanding from DOC during the subcommittee meetings was that there are not searches other than clothes searches, unclothed searches, urinalysis, and body scans. Like those four terms cover the universe of searches. The way this is drafted, if there were a kind of search other than these four things, it would still cover that. But listing the four kinds that DOC recognizes is a way to confirm that when this provision says searches, it means all searches. But if a new kind of search came up and started to be used, it would still be covered by the language of this section.
Because it's any lawful searches is the
Any
key.
lawful searches, and then as you pointed out, the including is, it means that there could be something that is a search that is not one of the listed items.
As long as it's lawful.
Yes. No permission to conduct unlawful searches.
So Haley, I'm assuming, I'm hoping you're okay with this section, with DOC being okay with this section?
Yeah, DOC is okay with this section, and we appreciate the kind of broadening of it as we finalize our searches policy.
Anything else from the folks? Okay. Section 5, this is the meat of it in a way. You got the classification of inmates, the housing in terms of where they would be housed, and the programming placement. So let's do A, B. Let's just do A, B, and C on this page first.
By the departments, is there something crossed out in front of it?
The letter A, I think,
Okay, and it's.
Yeah.
going
Yes.
from indefinite to definite, yeah.
Because previously
For
it
some
said,
reason, even with my glasses, I couldn't read it.
Yeah, I get it, sister. I'm getting there.
So we clarified what's highlighted in yellow in C is what we clarified from Dr. Eulerger's testimony this morning. There was an A panel, there's a variety of avenues. And it's a consultation because he testified that WellPath is not part of that panel.
Gina, were you here for that?
No.
So I remember that when the three of us were doing this as a subcommittee, it was important that medical personnel be part of the process for determining, especially if there's going to be a denial for a health request.
Right.
So today, Dr. Euliger clarified that their staff, WellPath staff, is not on these multidisciplinary panels. And he said we wouldn't want to be for conflict of interest. I'm just articulating this for you because I can anticipate some people wanting to dig into how how robust is that multidisciplinary disciplinary panel? So
Right,
I asked the doctor to explain that conflict of interest, because I didn't immediately understand why there would be a conflict of interest there.
right,
This was his example. If WellPath staff is on a panel that has to make determinations, in this case about a housing placement, and they decide not to accommodate a housing request, and then that same person has to provide medical care for that person, that's the conflict. Suddenly this person who has been denied a request by the person providing that could cause some tension there.
yeah,
So that's why WellPath staff is not. So we changed it to consult, that they shall consult on a regular basis.
okay.
It's a shall, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Does that make
Makes
sense?
sense, yeah,
It made a lot of sense. It did.
yeah,
so there would be a conflict. of
Yes, it was really, really simple to understand that conflict.
yeah,
But I can understand, I can anticipate somebody wanting to make sure that those multidisciplinary review panels are not just rubber stamped,
right,
that they're legitimate review of the request, and they are.
yeah,
Right.
Is everyone good with the rest?
I'm not good with it regularly yet.
With what?
Regularly, this is line seven.
One.
Line 17.
17 on page 7.
Does that mean on each and every case?
What if it was just shall consult with?
I like
you know,
that,
really?
yes.
yeah, I think,
So
I think,
consult, because that can cover all,
yeah, I think you think.
Does that work for you, Brian?
Yeah, I prefer it if it's going.
okay.
Folks,
Thank you to me.
That works.
Yeah, that's easy enough.
see what a line by line brings us.
Good. Other different items.
Yep,
Critical.
you should think a little bit. We've made some changes as we've gone
Every
along.
5 years.
Anything else? This is A, B, and C. There's more. So on B, this is upon initial intake. So a person's in booking. Okay? They're in booking. And the department needs to ask them to see if they have a request as to any housing placement. Okay?
Seems pretty crystal clear.
Yep. Page 8, we're still in the section for classification, housing, and program placement. And D has a 1 and 2. So let's read D with 1 and 2 because they're all interconnected. So I have a question on line 6 and 7. Department would determine the classification of housing placement. Would not best protect the health and safety at that time, but may recommend discussing reassessment with the inmate after a specified period. What do we mean by specified period?
Something the subcommittee talked about was that in some cases, it's more of an ongoing discussion where it's not, for reasons that won't change. This placement is not appropriate for you. It is, there might be, I think the example given was there might be some ongoing mental health concerns that make the placement not the right choice at that time, but that, you know, if some steps were taken, then reassessing the placement might be appropriate. So the idea with that sentence is just to capture that in some instances, what happens is more of a conversation, or something that the plan is to revisit it after a certain period. So I don't think there's any magic to the words after a specified period. But the idea is, I think the key pieces there are may determine at that time, but may recommend discussing reassessment. It could be at a later date, but just.
I mean, after a specified period, I kind of interpret that, well, after a month, you reassess, or
Right.
after 2
It's like
weeks.
we're prescribing some period.
Yeah,
but
or
it's-
after
it's-
6
we're not
months. I
prescribing.
mean, was the discussion kind of, it's fluid and can
Yes.
change?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the period could be different depending on the situation, or it could be based on satisfying a certain, or not satisfying, but based on certain
This
steps
could
being
be a
taken.
period.
This could be a day or a month or
Specific
6
Yeah,
months.
it does.
agreed to specified period?
We're discussing reassessment with the inmate.
After a period of time? No.
No, because
At a later-
it's the same thing.
At a later date? Is that too broad?
Just wait, say
Why
that
don't we
again.
just
what
cut
you
it
just
off
said.
Cut
Agreed to
after
specified.
And
specified.
agreed to by both
We
parties,
can't accommodate now, but let's talk about it in,
and agreed
2
to
months.
by both
okay, we'll
parties.
talk about it in 2 months.
Or mutually
Kind of
agreed?
mutual
Yeah.
agreement.
Well, I
Either
remember,
what area-
I remember that
Mutual agreement.
the example they gave was that a lot of the times a person, especially transgender persons, will be placed with someone and at first won't want to do that, but after a few days bonds with that person.
Right.
I remember that like real specifically, and it helps that person because them having a go-to person that they're living with at first, they may not want to, but down the road they will. So I just wanted to share that.
That's why we said agreed, by both parties.
Right.
Time frame. Because I think then that is respectful of both sides.
Right.
But this is kind of a little bit in the reverse, because the department may determine it would not best protect where the person may want to go, would not best protect the health and safety at that time,
Okay, I see what I got
but
you.
may recommend discussing reassessment with the inmate at a later time.
Yeah, I think that works.
At a later time.
Yeah.
I think that works.
So there were a couple, I think, if I remember right, and I'll ask my 2 subcommittee members to chime in if this doesn't feel accurate. A couple different examples. One was what Hillary articulated, that maybe there's co-occurring mental health concerns that we want to resolve before we make decisions about this kind of housing placement.
Right.
The other was, and this is especially, I think, relevant to trans men. We're worried. There's right. If we place you on that cell block, let's make sure that this is a well thought out decision. We're not saying no, but we want to apply due diligence. So that was another consideration as well. And we just want the flexibility for the department and the multidisciplinary panel to be able to again, hit the pause button, tap the brakes and say, let's think about this for a beat and then make our decision.
Well, and so these are also weasel words, so I suppose they could be misinterpreted, but does after an appropriate interval get us closer to what we're talking about?
After a
Say that again,
Say
Brian.
that again.
I'm wondering right, if after a specified period we're replaced by after an appropriate interval. And the question, of course, will be what's appropriate and who determines it. But I mean, I think that gets us closer to,
or after further consideration,
Yeah,
But
after
that
further
kind of puts it
consideration.
Still out there,
like continued consideration.
but that still kind of puts it out there. I think agreement, because then you're saying both parties are agreeing to a time to discuss it again. Understanding that the new inmate having new
Right,
challenges.
yeah, we said at a later
May not-
time.
Talk early on in the process.
After a mutually agreed upon.
I think the one challenge with mutual agreement is that,
I might not get it.
yeah,
and
Yeah.
if there were not mutual agreement, then the department could say, if you want to discuss it, it will be at this later time. So I think here, I think at a later time works. after an appropriate interval, I think also works. Appropriate is whatever the department says. and it's the department
Appropriate's heavy.
determines. But in this case, that is how it's structured, or the panel would determine. So I think either of those options work.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Well, going back to the original, after a specified period, who's specifying that period
I
then?
think we've agreed not to have specified period.
Okay.
Specified.
I was asking what that meant.
Specified was out
Specified
minutes
period is
ago.
not rejected by the committee. Consider an alternative. I think it would be the department says, we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So department,
But
Yeah, I just thought appropriate was less sort of random seeming than specified. Specified could be, I got 6 months, excuse me, where where appropriate is because it's necessary for security, it's necessary psychologically, it's, you know. But again, these are all weasel words.
you guys have to read the whole sentence and then something.
That we-
So the department may determine
Sorry.
that classification of housing placement would not best protect health and safety at that time, but may recommend discussing reassessment with the inmate at a later time.
I think that's.
Or
Let's keep it simple.
At a later
Yeah,
time.
I think that's good. That was your idea.
it just kind of came out as you were
Right,
reading.
well, you've done this a few times. so.
Yes, love my coffee and stuff. Okay, so that sets the overall, and then 1 and 2 defines it a little bit more.
you're too kind. I would not dream of stepping up to anything.
So this one is an out. Kind of an out, number 1, in a way. It kind of says the same thing, but it's.
So 1 is emphasizing how the department should consider the inmate's request. So D is setting forth the overarching principle for making a decision, how the department's gonna do it on an individualized basis, and consider whether it would best support the inmate's health and safety, and whether it would pose risks to safety or security. 1 is saying, you've asked the inmate for their request, you need to give it serious consideration. And if you find that accommodating the request would pose any of these 3 concerns, then the department may decide that it cannot accommodate the request. And we talked, I think, earlier today about changing those to ors, because the point is
Yes.
that this should anyway, these should be ors. So the inmate's health or safety, or the safety or security of other inmates or staff. So that would be.
Right, so and turns to or between safety and security, there we are.
I don't think it matters to understanding, but I think for flow, we could delete safety at the end of line 10 and or security at the beginning of 11, because it's just repetitive. And so it would read would pose an unreasonable risk to the inmate's health or safety, or the safety and security, you know.
I think the department read the broad safety or security as encompassing some of the operational concerns they might have to consider.
Yeah.
Um,
You're talking about
I
the
think there was some
inmates.
custom-
The first
Yes,
one
It's
is,
in the second clause, though, the safety and security of other inmates or staff.
I understood the department to be thinking of some operational considerations that are distinct from
Okay,
the safety of specifically the people, inmates or staff, but there would be some kind of like scheduling or not scheduling here, but some kind of structural operational reasons that might impact the decision, but
okay.
that is, I can't be more specific because that's all I remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I dig that, yeah.
Yeah,
well, one thing that I could see happening quite easily in terms of the safety and security of other inmates and staff, putting on the operational hat of DOC. You put someone in one of the living units, and there could be another person in that living unit that is really agitated that there's a person, trans person in there, and really start riling people up. And it wouldn't take much to have a little uprising in a living unit. And that puts at risk other inmates and it puts at risk staff.
We do have.
And that's there in the last clause anyway.
Yeah, we
Hmm?
have there is an obligation to eliminate the risk rather than, right? Or mitigate the risk.
Right,
Yeah,
right, but
I hear what you're saying.
I mean,
Yeah, there are
there could be a
operational,
powder keg
yeah.
and a living unit that all of a sudden just blows. Haley, can you weigh in on this at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that would still be encompassed in speaking about the health and safety of the inmate and other staff. So I feel as though they do kind of both encompass each other.
So are you saying we should keep the language in line 11 as is? Or keep it inmates' health and safety?
I think the question is there something the department would be considering in deciding not to accommodate an inmate's housing replacement request other than the inmate's health or safety or the safety or security of inmates or staff?
In which case, for clarity's sake, having just argued for brevity, I would argue for putting in institutional safety or security, just adding the word.
Yeah, I think if that's what the committee is trying to get at, and that is a consideration, then that is a lot clearer. So thank you for that suggestion.
Putting in the institutional safety
Insecure.
and security, you have to have
Or security.
or security.
So that's in line 10 at the end,
Correct.
in between 2 and safety.
Correct.
Institution.
No, it'd be on line 11.
Would pose an unreasonable risk to institutional safety or security, or the inmate's health or safety, or the safety or security of other inmates or staff.
Oh, all right, I misinterpreted that. So, how
I like that.
do you spell institution, I wonder?
INSTITUTION.
Since I wish you know how to spell that word, not backwards.
He's
I
playing.
wondered how many people were.
He's playing. Oh, we're.
Well, I
paying
heard
attention.
that, I was like,
Okay, so we're good there?
Pose an unreasonable risk to institutional safety or security, the inmate's health and safety, or the safe, no, take out the or.
Or the institutional safety.
That's up at line 10. Unreasonable risk to institutional safety or security, the inmate's health and safety.
Health or safety.
Yeah.
It's gonna be health or safety.
Or the safety or security.
Oh, got it. Thank
Or
you.
the-
No more ands ever.
So now we have all
Killing those
ors.
four ends.
Then the department can decide it cannot accommodate the request
Ding,
after all
ding,
these
ding.
things. Okay. Number 2. And that one we cut short, that the department would base their classification and housing determinations on reliable, objective evidence. Do we really even need that if we're really clear in one?
I like it that.
I do like it too. I think that that's, Troy made a point, and I think it's good that it's there, because it just throws another like reliable, objective evidence.
Especially given C comes.
Uh-oh, the summer speaks.
Sorry, I have a question for Hillary, and this is because I'm not a lawyer. And I could also bring this back to our legal team too. But I just feel as though the language of reliable and objective evidence is so vague, and I fear that it might put the department in an uncomfortable place
Hillary,
if
I
we
mean,
were to be sued.
Sketchy and.
Haley, what about when we're combining it with E though, with the written? I think it's nice to have there because we're about to say that you have to have a written documentation, and I want that written documentation based on objective evidence.
One way to maybe,
But, no, go ahead.
I think, one option to consider that makes it potentially, more precise for both the department to understand and follow and for others to assess is the department shall base its classification and housing placement determinations on objective bases. I think I understand that reliable and evidence could be interpreted to require more than we are perhaps suggesting, than the bill is suggesting DOC do. But I appreciate that specifying objective is playing a role in the written requirement. So knowing that you might still need to take that back to your team, Haley, would language like that at least go partway towards addressing that concern? 'Cause I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that objective makes a lot of sense, and that is what we strive to do. It's the, I think, reliable term that brings me the most pause.
Right?
It could be read to implicate rules of evidence in some different way, so I appreciate that.
So what would it read?
It would read, the department shall base its classification and housing placement determinations on objective. I'm now realizing it uses the word base, and so on bases is not great, but I can find a synonym for bases that is similarly not
Measures.
illegal.
But it says objective evidence. Am I on line 15?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
the suggestion is that using the word
Considerations.
reliable and using the word evidence could implicate a higher requirement
Okay.
than what I think the thrust of the bill is trying
I
to
like
get
totality,
at.
Troy, because I'm afraid of,
I know
where
what,
would you put totality?
So you could say the department shall make its classification and housing placement determinations on objective bases.
On a totality of objective basis?
yeah, otherwise I'm concerned that I can say, well, you know, what's objectively that I can observe is that this person has this kind of genitalia. That's reliable, that's objective. So if you say totality, then
We've also said they can't do that,
that's
right,
true.
in the non-discrimination provision, and the bill also says they have to state that. So there would be a check if that were the case.
Kill the whole thing.
My computer is dead, and so I cannot quickly look at synonyms.
Oh, no.
Is there a charger?
What
What do you need?
I was scouting earlier, that one does not work. unfortunately. I was maybe gonna steal James.
There's one here.
Yeah.
The one from James.
Can I see the end of it, the plug-in end? Oh, that would be amazing. It's one.
He's plugged in. You may have to join the
I'm
desk.
so sorry.
You
This
may have
was
to come in.
after,
You got it.
You gotta pull it here. Oh, hang on.
It's committee before, they ran.
Battery drive.
there.
So while this reads, if this works, I will work on an alternative phrasing for lines 14 and 15. And if the committee wants to keep reading in this section, I'll have a new proposal for that language.
And just pluralizing, right, basically.
What do we want the housing and classification determinations to be based on?
Objective evidence.
Grounds,
Objective. I like bases.
Basic, I think bases work.
Bases.
Objective basis.
Considerations.
The department
Objective.
shall make its classification and housing placement determinations. On objective bases. So not quite like that.
And not just lose reliable, just on objective evidence.
Objective
I
basis.
think the
On it.
objective is what we absolutely want to capture, and we want a noun that is different from evidence and
Okay.
doesn't.
On an objective basis.
So the department shall make its classification and housing placement determinations on an objective basis.
Haley,
Yes.
How does that
does that
sound?
work? Yes, like you like that?
Yes, I think that that's an improvement.
Okay.
Anything else on number 2? Okay, let's go to.
Beat that
we'll be back to
sentence
it.
up.
So then E comes in if it cannot accommodate the request, the department upon determining it can't accommodate the request, it needs to document in writing.
We talked about that at length yesterday. Which is important.
We're fine with that?
Yes.
DOC's fine with that? I think Josh nodded when he was here yesterday.
Yeah, no issues with that.
Yeah, okay, let's go to F. Then we're gonna correct on line 7,
Correct.
that contracted facility. So this would also encompass facility outside the state. That would also encompass our interstate compact, correct?
They said, yeah, we had this discussion and
Yes.
they, I think, said yes. Outside the state was general enough to include
Yeah.
those compacts, yeah.
The way that I read this language, it does seem as though it encompasses the interstate compact.
And we don't house anyone outside of an interstate compact or our out-of-state contract with Core Civic, correct? There's no other situation, do we?
Sorry, I was
No,
trying
you
to
were
switch devices.
Now right now,
We don't do anything, do we, outside of the interstate compact and our contract with Core Civic?
No, we don't do anything outside of those two.
Yeah. Just didn't think so, but you never know. There's a little fluke every once in a while.
Yeah.
So we're okay with that?
Yes.
G has got 1 and 2. And this is assessing the housing policy.
Okay, okay.
I'm good with that.
I have a note that says currently is in DOC policy. I know,
Have that on the other.
If you wanted to.
right.
Then we're in the pre, right? Oh, no.
We've got one.
One more.
Then page 10, we have the wage, which also has another 1 and 2.
I'm good with those.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of those.
I feel.
Why, now remind me, why in this one we said bed assignment and not housing placement?
that assignment
Use
is
the
a
cell.
specific cell with a specific person who might be a supportive ally.
Yes.
Placement
Is in the unit,
Yes.
yes. Or in a facility.
right?
So Haley, is department okay with the new H?
Yeah, I'm curious, and this might have been something that the subgroup discussed, so I apologize if that was the case, but the reasoning for including the programming decisions in line 5.
So I'm wondering if like. So what are the programming decisions, like does honors college fit here?
No,
Honors college, honors.
that's fine. I understood. That would be a housing placement. I mean, they're kind of like the term program is very specific in DOC world, so I think of that as like sex offender treatment program.
Gotcha.
Which is why it feels somewhat out of place, but I wasn't sure if there was a specific reason for including that. Things like honors dorm or honors unit and like print, things of that nature, I don't think quite fall into the term programming.
Can we get rid of programming decisions and lose no intent here?
You're saying, well, programming decisions could be that they are working within the vocational arena or educational arena? Or
You
they
know,
could be having some required cognitive behavior programming towards the end of their sentence?
Or jobs.
we use the term programming so specifically that things such as vocational training kind of use their own term. Programming is very specific to something that would be mandated, such as sex offender treatment.
It's not
And-
a good. Yeah.
That's the way that the term is kind of used in everyday DOC world.
So should we take the word programming out?
Are we, yeah, we're taking it out or substituting something else?
Like you
And
said,
but what do you also mean by placement? What do you mean by placement? Before it was determining a classification or housing placement is what we've used, housing placement. So we also thinking of housing placement there? Not just bed assignment, but housing placement?
That is how I read it. I'm not sure if others.
All the other places we've used housing placement.
So let's put it in.
Because it
And
would
here
be
we're
housed
only
in a
using place.
facility.
The other place that we're using placement is on page 9. On line 6. I would think we'd want to be consistent unless there was a specific reason. Or did it just get lost in the shuffle?
I think just lost in the shuffle.
Okay.
Housing housing
So
placement.
on line 6, on page 9.
Yep.
Line 6, housing placement, because that's what we're talking
So
about.
we
right?
should carry it forward to page 10 as well.
Well,
Well, then,
I just did a search on placement, so now back on page 6, line 2, we've got programming placement there.
no, we got on page 6. Well, as long as we're defining what the placement is.
I'm just saying that there are 21 occurrences of the word placement in the bill.
Well, again, placement could mean placement in a bed situation, though we have bed assignment in front of that. So I would say housing placement because it depends upon what facility you're being put in, correct?
Well, yeah, we got to be careful. Whoops, because I just read on page 9. This deals with folks who are placed in out-of-state facilities. So you don't want housing placement there. Because you're talking about folks who are placed in out-of-state facilities. We best support them, their inmates' health and safety, and whether the placement would pose risk to safety or security. That placement is referring to being placed in a facility outside the state.
Federal generally does use placement as a more, in relation to other kinds of decisions. So I will take another look through the bill, and if there's a place where it is not clear what kind of placement we are talking about, if it is supposed to be a specific kind of placement, I will suggest clarifying that.
So what do we mean on page 10, line 5, bed assignment, placement, and programming? What do we,
There, I
programming,
think it's housing placement.
it's housing placement?
Yes.
I agree.
And then are we taking out programming?
I think that Haley made that really clear that is a very weighted word in corrections. So we got to figure something else out to say there.
So Haley, given that's the case, there's a repeat of programming placement on page 6, line 2. Is it equally inappropriate? You've already found it. You're smiling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great find, sir. I just, I also, that was something I missed. So I would feel similarly that maybe it would be best to strike the language on page 6, line 2 that refers to programming for those same reasons.
So that one would read classification, housing placement. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Search.
Don't you guys just love the line by line?
Well, better here than up there.
Out there on the floor. That's what I always say. And take more time on the floor. Anything else on H1 and 2? This is specifically for placing the person in a housing situation or a cell. Where they could be supported by another inmate, or there could be a risk to them from a situation. So Haley, are you okay with what we've done on H? If you followed us along?
I have no, I mean, I think the only thing I would flag, it seems maybe more of a wording issue, or perhaps I'm reading it wrong, but line 6, housing the inmate with another inmate. They're all housed with other incarcerated people, and the way that I read that is that there is a potential for them to be placed alone. I don't think that that is what line 6 is trying to get at, though. But I think that's just a phrasing thing. I can understand it as being in this conversation, but I think if someone were looking at the statute for the first time, would read that as housing this person with another person in a situation in which they would otherwise be housed by themselves, which we don't do.
So it should be like basing inmate selection.
Or housing the inmate with a particular other inmate.
It's, yeah, basing some, it's, I don't know what I said, yeah.
Yeah, but does particular kind of put someone out there like?
So that other inmate, would that be in a living unit, or what's our goal? Is it in a living unit or is it in a cell?
I have cell in my mind.
Yeah, I thought it was roomy.
Yeah, roommate. Bestie.
So housing the inmate
We're gonna be doing yoga.
in their bed assignment with another inmate?
I think that's the same challenge that Haley's pointing out, that without some adjective about the other inmate, it reads as whether to house the inmate with another person at all, as opposed to housing the inmate with another potentially supportive inmate, which is the intention of subdivision law.
Choosing the inmate cellmate. Selecting
Right, choice will be
inmate
based
cellmate.
on, yeah.
Do you call them cellmates, Hannah?
I don't know. Well, we don't call them inmates, which is why the language
Yeah.
is funky
We
to
call
me.
them residents.
So
I know that's what it is in statute, though. Well, I recall that in the first draft of the bill, it was phrased as housing them with an inmate of choice, and that raised some concerns
Right.
over the potential for people using this nefariously.
Right.
So I'd be hesitant about specifying that it's something they could choose. But I'm wondering if, and Hillary, let me know your thoughts, it would read to make sense if it was just the inmate they are housed with.
the inmate with whom they are housed, yep, that could work.
Okay.
Let me just look back at the whole provision. So the department shall give a transgender, gender diverse, or intersex inmates perception of health and safety, serious consideration in making bed assignment and housing placement decisions, including. And say again, Haley, the language that you had.
The inmate they are housed with.
The inmate with whom they are housed.
Inmate with whom they
Are housed with.
are housed with.
Support systems.
Which in, let me just think for a second.
The department selection of, is it a question of who's driving the bus?
It's a question of having a gerund, because that's
No
the way it's
what?
structured. Which is what's catching me up. So, both of these have, including housing the inmate or removing the risk. Unfortunately, my 6 p.m. brain after this particular day is not.
Yeah,
very
we're all
quickly,
getting a
with
little, we're
apologies.
almost done, we're almost done.
Including selecting the inmate with whom they are housed to best support safety and security. Grammatically works. If that works for you, Haley.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
The challenge is we spent a lot of time crafting two, and so I don't wanna mess with two by, your structure is very simple, but it would require changing two, and at this point I am wary of changing two.
So it would read, including selecting the inmate with whom they are.
Sorry, we shouldn't say, selecting the inmate with whom the inmate is housed. To best support safety and security.
Yes.
So that works, Haley? So if that works for you, it works for us.
It works.
It works.
Thank you for entertaining that.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for the suggestion.
The
It
pre,
got us there.
yeah. So Priya, we went through this pretty well yesterday.
As number 2.
And that's section 2, that just says January 1st, 24. That's the one we're gonna codify, and we listed out all of the standards, which we haven't really gone into those standards at all. I hope we don't have any questions about them on the floor.
But that's all PRIA driven,
It's all
correct?
PRIA driven.
So it's like,
So
that's
it's-
federal.
I think the question on the floor would be, to refer someone to the specific PRIA standards, which are identified, like the different federal regulations are identified by these titles. So if someone wanted to understand what is meant, and I will also be on the floor, and so if someone picks one of these and says, what does that mean?
Then we'd have to take
I
a
can-
recess to go there, because this is all federally driven.
Well,
But just for purposes of someone on the floor wanting to really dig in here, I think the answer is the regulation says it, and if they want to know what the regulation says, then
Right.
we'll have to recess and.
Yeah, we'll
we
have to
can
take
provide
a
them with it.
recess, because it's federally driven.
Yeah,
Right.
And the whole point is that we're not, I think one part of the answer is, it's in the regulation, it's doing exactly what the regulation is doing. And repeating all of the regulations here would, as Rep. Winter said earlier, make the BSA many pages long.
Right.
So I think that's the practical reason not to put it in, and if anyone wants to know the substance, DOC knows it because it's in the federal regulation, they're already following it.
Right.
And anyone can consult the federal regulations.
And we're just codifying the federal regulations as they exist
Right.
now. In the event that things change on the federal.
Right.
And again, a specific question, you could take a recess and I can pull up.
I said we'd put all 44 of them in.
Right.
That's why we said all 44 were going in.
Did you do new language for those dates, page 13, line 4?
Yes, let me read.
Sorry,
Uh,
that was you, that.
Page 13, line
Said
4.
D, because of, they
They
never
do it at a
get,
different date.
they never, it was a year late
Yeah.
and never the
It
same
could be
date, so
annually.
it's starting in 2026.
Yes, so subsection B now reads, starting in 2027, the Commissioner of Corrections shall annually submit a report to the House Committee on Corrections and Institutions and the Senate Committee on Institutions that provides the data required under 28 CFR section 115.87, which is the federal regulation that Jen directed us to, that identifies the 2 reports that the committee wants, but not the 3rd report the committee does not.
Great.
And Jen and Haley took a peek at that language earlier, and Haley can confirm, but I think that language worked for the 2 of you.
Yep,
Okay.
that's accurate.
So on C, do we have to change?
We have to change anything on C in terms of adopted. They're hoping to adopt policy soon, right?
Well, this is
This is
PRIA
different.
policy that they already have, so
That's-
you could say on passage, because they already have the policy, but that seems a little odd and would generate questions, so this gives them through the end of the year to have their policy. I think if DOC has a preference on date, we could change that, but it is a policy they already have in existence.
Think we are agnostic about the date.
Okay,
But you already had this policy in place, or are you starting to adopt new policies?
The policy, to my understanding, is being updated and should be released in the coming weeks or months, but we do have a policy in place at the moment.
Right, but it's currently being updated.
Yeah.
Oh, we're on 551A.
I think the January 15th date gives the department to the end of the year to make any updates. It sounds like search is moving along quickly, but to the extent there's conversation about others, it gives them some time to feel comfortable that they've done what they need to with their current existing policies on this topic to reflect the what the bill is asking.
And we're fine with that. Section 7 and section
7, 8.
8, 9, this is renumbering
Yeah,
all the existing statutes.
We're on page 15.
yeah.
Basically, it's segregation. I mean, basically, it's definitions, some of it.
We're on the top of page
Yeah, that's so
15 now.
We're on the very bottom of page
13.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Section 10.
Search policy review, and then the actual language starts on
15.
the top of 15.
But we're not changing anything, it's just renumbering those sections.
Right, we're making no substantive changes.
Yeah.
It is simply consistency because we are renumbering the definitions applicable to Title 28. For reference, usually or often, when you reference a definition, you'll just reference the section. For this reason, you won't reference the subdivision. So that if the numbering changes within the definition section, you still know what section to go to and you don't have to renumber like this. But since these sections chose to identify that specifically, we'll keep doing that. And just make it reflect the new numbering.
So at the bottom of page 14, lines 21, we have another section 10, search policy review. This is how we dealt with the rebuttable presumption, correct? Issue?
Part of it on search policy to, I think the idea of doing this was to capture the principle while allowing the department to finish updating what is an involved area of the law. Was to say, here's the general principle of search policy, but we're not going to specify more about rebuttable presumption or other details of when and how you can conduct searches. But the department shall submit on or before August 1st, 2026. Department of Corrections shall submit a revised search policy to the Joint Legislative Justice Oversight Committee. B, the Joint Legislative Justice Oversight Committee shall review and recommend whether updates to the policy are warranted and what, if any, statutory changes might be warranted.
Perfect,
And yeah, that's,
perfect.
seems good.
Sounds good.
That's straight.
We talked about it quite a bit.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to section 11. This is a report that's going to be given to us middle of December, just in case we need to draft legislation.
Right, that's what it gives us some time.
Yeah. And the report would identify changes to the standards of reporting requirements. So this plays out, instead of a sunset, do we have to change anything on that 30, 31, 30, 39? Do we have to change those numbers at all?
We do not.
Okay,
Those are all the sections, 30301 to 30309
Okay.
in the United States Code
okay.
that are the Prison Rape Elimination Act. So our drafting convention, when we refer to a federal act, if you do it by name, you also list any of the code sections that it covers so that someone can go and look at them if they so wish.
So we're now on section
Well,
12.
let's think this through. So on it before a year from the end of this year, because we wanted to give them 2 years. So they have all of this year. And they have they'll have all of this year once this becomes law, which is in July.
Mhm.
So they'll have until
6 months.
January 27. So that's 6 months. And then they'll have all of 27 So that's a year and a half.
Yep.
And
And
didn't they
then-
say they had that done quicker anyway?
This one is.
Just in case there's any changes to the
Right.
area.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Give it 2 years, because the commissioner was concerned we were locking in and there could be some changes that we
Okay.
might want to incorporate. So
So
if,
the December 15th, 2027 is okay.
yeah, that gives them a full year and a
Thought I
half.
discussed.
and if there
To
were a
report.
change, they also could come back earlier
Right.
and identify
Yeah.
something, but this is, that's just a built-in reminder to come back and question whether this is still the right approach. And if any changes are.
And I think that's good sooner than later, so that if there is something additionally they need to do.
Can give it a more.
Then section 12, that's a placeholder. That language is going to change, but should we say gender affirming medical care? Healthcare?
Aren't you doing mental and health care? So
Either healthcare or just care?
As I understand it, gender affirming care is a term of art in the medical world that refers to.
Okay.
medical and mental health
Covers it
care.
all.
Yeah,
right,
And
that's,
Haley's nodding.
yeah.
I'm learning something new. I was not aware of that, but that makes sense if that's what the medical folks are
What
saying.
did you call it? A term of what?
Term of art and the gender
Wow.
Which is a
identity.
legal term.
care
It just means
covers,
like
care
a
covers it
special
all, the health
formulation,
and
right? Like a
mental.
Yeah, but
special
that's-
phrase
that's
that
cool.
everyone understands to mean a certain
No,
thing.
never heard that.
It's a term of art in the gender identity world.
And then in
Yeah.
section, what was 12 is now 13, the effective date.
So, Haley, to this point, would DOC be supportive of this bill? As it's written,
Check.
you may need to check.
I know Commissioner Murad has been busy today and likely not tuning in, so I will have to run this language through him to get back to a formal answer for all of you.
Right. I
However,
don't want to
those-
put you on the spot, but we need to know where DOC comes down on this.
We need to know early tomorrow.
One option, given the very tight timeline, this will go through, I've made the changes in the document. This needs to go through editing, which will happen tonight, will happen tomorrow morning. But if it will help the department reach a decision timely to share with the committee, to have a token of this. If you want to see the language that will be before the committee tomorrow, with the chair's permission, I would share.
Yeah. Yeah, share it as soon as you can.
Subject to it hasn't been through editing. Yeah. So if that's helpful, Haley, just in case anyone at the department wants to see the language that we've discussed to feel comfortable with it or not.
that would be helpful. Thank you.
So we probably won't get back here on the floor tomorrow. We're back here in committee till after the floor tomorrow. And we're on the floor at 9:30.
So
We had a lot on notice calendar.
by 11 o'clock,
I would
maybe.
say by 11. We had a lot on notice, so we're gonna be
Sooner would be
working.
better, don't drag your feet.
Yeah, but we might be working tomorrow afternoon, because I got that stupid meeting at noon. It'll take half an hour. So just be prepared for tomorrow afternoon, folks. I mean, we're in good shape, but the commissioner may have some issues that we really need to talk through and resolve. Or this will be really his first time going through a real piece of legislation that's gone through, what, 2 or 3 reiterations, 3 drafts. So it's a new world for him. So, he may want to come in and ask us questions in terms of why we made this decision on the language, and more clarity for him to understand the language. And I want to offer that opportunity. That makes sense?
Are we done?
That makes sense, right, Haley?
Yeah, so, hey,
Yeah, that works for us. Thank you.
so when's lunch tomorrow? At noon or 1?
Noon is at that meeting. So for folks, we're done till after the floor tomorrow. And we can go off of YouTube and have a good evening. And thank you all for the work. I think we're